Long Island author Jean Marie Prince has written a book. She's written a book, Inspired Blessings. There you go. Jean Marie, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Good morning. How are you today?
Good, doing fine.
Well, we're so glad to have you on with us this morning, and you've got this book out, an awesome book, Inspired Blessings, as God has given you. This is your first book, am I right?
Yeah, it is. But first of all, I want to thank you so much, Pastor Rich, for giving me this opportunity to share my book, which is called Inspired Blessings, Led by God to Inspire the World with Love, Faith, and Hope.
Well, it's a privilege to have you. Thank you for coming on with us. And you have an incredible story. Talking about Inspired Blessings, why don't you share with the Long Island audience a little bit about your life and what God did? You have an incredible story right from the beginning.
Yeah, I do. Basically, first I just would like to mention is that over a year ago, I was walking, and people would know who is more local with the Meat Farms, but Meat Farms parking lot, and all of a sudden I heard, do the book. And I was like, you're right, and I took a leap of faith, and what I do is I talk about in the book is a lot, like 4 different themes, and one of the themes happens to be my life story and how it started. And in which I was, left in a bathroom in Korea at 2 days old. And so God had a plan for me, and he had someone found me, brought me to an orphanage, and I lived there for 5 years. And then I was adopted by an American family, Irish mother, Italian father, and 4 instant brothers.
Wow, now that's some combination now.
It is. It is. But it's been a blessing. I mean, in the fact that God, had a purpose for me, not to just leave me, just there to die. And I've been listening to your story a few days ago about Gianna Jensen.
Yes.
And her story. And so with that, on that topic is, in the Inspired Blessings, my book here, like I said, it's 4 themes. And the second theme is how I take over 40 inspirations, and I put them in the book, and I tell the behind story of why I was inspired to write that, okay?
Right.
And basically one of them happens to be before I am not even born. And that's because one day I was driving, and all of a sudden I heard on the radio about how partial birth abortion was done. And I was like, I was flabbergasted that they could do that to,
yeah, sure,
babies. And so I was inspired to write that because of the fact that it shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely 100% agree with you.
Well, I appreciate that. Listen, you have a number of people too, right? You've taken actual stories of people's testimonies as well are in the book.
Yes, I have, and you know what it is? It's I've taken different people because there's a lot of people that these stories would speak to. I mean, you talk about how many mothers out there that want to be mothers but can't because medically.
Yeah.
And so I actually talk about 2 different individuals and 2 different scenarios and how God does supernatural things. And it gives people hope and for them to be able to see that God can change a situation that seems like, that there's no end to it. But the fact that he can, also show that, through him, all power, and that he can make things possible.
Well, that's what I love, too, about the opening of the book. You started with that very scripture, with men, this is impossible. With God, all things are possible. That's that's the very scripture that we have founded our church on. The Holding Out Hope Church is, with God, all things are possible. And obviously what seemed impossible to you became possible in putting a book together like this. And what were some of the stages and the phases you went through in putting your book together?
Well, first of all, the fact that I even wrote a book, the fact that I even wrote the first inspiration, and I start the book with the fact that how I was laying in bed with my kids one morning, and all of a sudden I started singing, and I said, hey, let me write down what I'm singing. And that morning I wrote down little 5 short prayer songs, and little did I know, but that was the birth of Inspired Blessings. Just to be able to even do that in itself, I mean, because I've never been a writer, didn't go to college, didn't learn how to write. So, I mean, this is all. And all the different things, if you read, that's another theme. It's how I talk about Inspired Blessings and the process throughout it, and all the, even the fact how he, believe it or not, named the company. I mentioned in the fact of in the story where I was calling up one of my girlfriends, Barbara. I'm like, what do you think of True Blessings? I'm trying to think of the name of the company. And she goes, yeah, that sounds good. But I was like, I still wasn't sure. So I'm stepping in the shower, and I'm like, God, what should I name it? The next thing was feeling and sound from my chest and out of my mouth comes Inspired Blessings. And I was like, you're right. that's perfect. And, and just like, walking in the parking lot, do the book. I've noticed that throughout it, as I read, it is to realize that, oh, my goodness, that when God speaks to me, I speak back.
Yeah.
Just like even I talk about a computer at one point. I talk about the fact that I called up somebody who's got the gift of prophecy. What do you think I should, use for the logo? Should I do a dove or a butterfly? And she goes, a blue butterfly. God just told me blue butterfly. And they're rare as well. And so that's even confirmed through, by somebody else that was supposed to be a blue butterfly. So it's just amazing, all, the different things. And when I was also doing the inspirations in the first 2 years, they came out with songs as melodies.
Yeah.
And believe me, I'm not, and I hate to say it, but I sing on 2 of my YouTubes, and you'll see that I'm not a singer. Yet God blessed me with the melodies.
Right.
So I'm praying, and hopefully, since this is a Christian radio station, maybe some Christian artists are listening to this, but, I would love for, a Christian artist to sing some of these songs because, like I said, they came out with the melodies, so maybe there's, something to work with.
Sure. Well, there's a lot. Listen, one of the things about a lot of great songwriters is that they're not necessarily great singers, and or they may or may not be great musicians, but when they've been given, a song, when they've come up with something, you got something inspired from God. Sure, you never know, putting it to music. And again, it all comes out of the creativeness that God had given you. Obviously, writing a book, writing poetry, writing music. That's so awesome. So continue.
Yeah, if I could share with one that I would love to be my first one to be made into a song, and I've kind of put a shout out to Natalie Grant. Haven't heard from her, but anyway, I like to read this. It's called "My Life Is in Your Hands." My life is in your hands. You took control when I was young, when I was not able. I had no mother to love me or a father to give me a hug. I was left all alone in the strange darkness. Nobody tried to claim me or say that they knew me. But, Lord, you were always there watching over me, making sure that I was fed. You kept me from the cold. Your hands picked me up and brought me to a loving home. Your grace was poured on me, and I was chosen to be saved. Lord, you blessed me in many ways. I want to thank you. If it was not for your love and caring ways, where would I be today? Would I even be alive, or would I be left standing on a corner, held by the evil of the world? I'm so glad to know you chose me for your very own. I will sing your praises forevermore. And then the Bible verse I put is, the Lord preserveth the simple. I was brought low, and he helped me. Psalm 116:6.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So there's so many different inspirations that it's almost, how do I say, the manual of inspirations for life, because it talks about so many topics that we come across in this world, so many trials, temptations, and things like that. And, like I said, it's the title of it, Inspired Blessings, led by God to inspire the world with love, faith, and hope. And it's so there's a lot of stories in there that's going to give you hope. There's going to be stories that's going to give you faith. I had somebody from, gave a review on Amazon.com, and how she was talking about how, there was a lot of things in her life that had happened, and how she didn't want to believe in anymore, or to believe. But yet, then after reading my book, she said, I believe now, because there's so many different instances that shows you how God had helped people to, with their different circumstances of the trials and in life.
Wow.
And, so that I'm hoping that through this book that people who are losing hope will finally have hope.
Well, I mean, it's so awesome when you find out that you obeyed God, and then hearing the testimonies that come out of your obedience to what God called you to do, and something you've never done before. And you mentioned you started the journey back in 1998. You have children. Tell us about your family.
Yeah, no, I do have, I'm married, and I also do have 2 children, Chelsea and Dylan. One is now, actually, my daughter's going to be 21, and my son is 17. And so I'm thankful that God had allowed for them to go to Christian school from pretty much from 6th grade up. And, and the fact that they truly know God in their life. And so that's a relief to me, you know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that when they're definitely, on their own, that they know that they have to answer to God. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely.
And I talk about raising them at certain points of the book as well. So when you read my book, you really have to read from the beginning of it, because there's the four different topics that intertwine, and somehow they lead one into the other. And so, this way you don't miss the beginning parts of what had happened previous. And it you're going to be amazed at the different stories. Like I read a story about actually a Jewish man
Mm-hmm.
who was an atheist, and he didn't believe in God. Well, he might have believed in God. He wasn't, he was agnostic. But what he says is the fact that he hated any Christians who came up to him and told him about Jesus Christ. Who the heck are you to tell me about Jesus Christ? If he has something to tell me, let him tell me. And so what I do is I lay the foundation of his faith, which is no faith in Jesus Christ. But what happens is he has a near-death experience, and then his story changes.
Wow.
So it's amazing the way God can take such a harden of a heart and change it to open his eyes to know the truth.
That's so awesome. Friends, we're talking with Jean Marie Prince, and she is the author of Inspired Blessings, Led by God to Inspire the World with Love, Faith, and Hope. And she's a Long Islander, and it's her first book that's out. And, when people see and hear testimonies like this, and, so much gets lost into how it came together, and you were sharing some of just the way God confirmed things, because that's how God leads us and confirms things. So how did you get it published? Because there are so many people that are out there wondering, well, how do I do it? I've got a book. I want to write something. How'd you get it published?
Well, you know what? I took a leap of I self-published it with this. Okay, so it got done a year later because you know what? God wanted me to do it the way He wanted me to do it, and not based on a publishing. But I do have to say, in 2007, I had the thought of a book, but it was only going to be just 100 inspiration, because He blessed me with over 100 inspirations. So it's going to be in the form of like volumes, of the different topics. And so, but it only had a little story about myself, just a tiny bit, and maybe a little story about Inspired Blessings. But that was it. And so at that point, I did have two publishing companies in 2007 that wanted to publish it, but I didn't feel led to go that way, Right. And so I decided then, when God told me to do this, I started a YouTube. So let's say that was in the fall of 2010. January 2011, I started a YouTube for people to join me on the journey. And so now I have about 15 YouTubes. Okay.
Oh, great.
And so the book it just came out like about a year later. So December 21st of 2011 was my first book signing, and I literally just got my books that day. And if you look at all the different list of events that has gone on, the doors that God has now opened, so I had a couple of events that already had passed, but now actually I put on your radio there for people to hear, is that on April 13th, 14th, and 16th, I'm going to be doing a TV interview on the Writer's Dream, okay, which has actually already been taped, but it'll be shown on Channel 20 in East Hampton.
Okay.
And April 14th, I'm having a book signing at God for Me Christian Bookstore in Farmingdale. And then April 28th is, I wanted to get into fundraising because I wanted to help organizations to be able to benefit from this, to be able to help them as well. And so I'm having my book signing at Sortino's Cafe in Smithtown, and so it's actually Smithtown Christian School fundraising event.
Oh,
and
great.
So anybody from Smithtown Gospel Tabernacle, their families are welcome to support it, the SES fundraiser, and also the public is welcome. And then May 10th, I'm actually going to be speaking at Samantha's Little Bit of Heaven for about an hour about the book, And then June 6th, I'm going to be having a book signing at the Book Expo America at the Javits Center in New York City. So, it's just amazing. Within a short amount of time.
Yeah, he can move quickly, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Oh, my goodness. I'm just amazed by this. And even like, for instance, the book itself, God wanted me to do everything, with this. He wanted me to have the hand in it. So the picture that's on the book cover is a picture I took, you know what I mean? And it's in Mexico, and I'm not a photographer, but then yet I also sell the 8x10 inspirational prints with, that would photograph pictures, and those are all pictures that God had, put upon my heart to do. Because I did have at one point when I just wrote the inspirations, it actually was more like 1999, 2000, I actually started to sell the inspirations, and I had over 60 stores selling these inspirations, 8x10, that I would order the artwork from another publishing company and laser print my inspirations, frame it, and I even had the Hallmark and Smith Haven Mall selling these inspirations. And so what I'm saying is, so you'll find out the story behind the Inspired Blessings throughout the book and the different process that I've done, But with the events of September 11th, I ended up basically putting things on hold, and that's why, it was put on hold, and then God wanted me to bring it back in the form of this, because I thought I was going to bring it back in the form of a greeting card line, and because actually I even had a prototype of how this greeting card line will be, and maybe down the road it will, through maybe somebody hearing this, maybe, a greeting card company, what are the chances? But you never know.
You never know, you
Yeah,
never know. And it's just, that's the beauty of walking with God, the journey, that he takes us on and the places that he leads us and the doors that he opens. And again, we're talking with Jean Marie Prince. Her book is Inspired Blessings, Led by God to Inspire the World with Love, Faith, and Hope. And more information can be gotten. Let me give out your information, because all the dates you just said of where you're going to be, the book signing, speaking at Samantha's, and all of that, that's all up on your website, correct?
Yes, inspiredblessings.com.
Inspiredblessings.com. That's one word, inspiredblessings.com. And you've got also youtube.com. You've got Inspired Blessings Twitter and inspiredblessings@gmail.com.
Yeah, if anybody who's, looking for me to come and speak about, the book, as well as give my testimony, because I haven't really touched my testimony of how I came to know Jesus Christ, and I would, I just love to share about the truth.
That's
the
so
truth that was
that's
revealed
so
to me.
awesome, and we thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to take the time with us and share about your book and share with the listening audience. And friends, I want to encourage you again: Inspired Blessings, Led by God to Inspire the World with Love, Faith, and Hope by Jean Marie Prince. You can go to her website. Once again, it is inspiredblessings.com, inspiredblessings.com, for more information about the book, where you can get it, and of course where Jean Marie's going to be. Jean Marie, thank you so much for taking the time with us this morning.
Thank you so much, Pastor Rich. I appreciate it.
Well, you're quite welcome. God bless you. Have an awesome, awesome Resurrection weekend.
You too.